Hey, y'all.
I don't care. Leave it like that. There.
Nope,
Unless
look.
how do you do that? I've got to learn how to do those buttons. Hey, everybody. Squirrel, what are you doing? KDG, is it today or yesterday was your birthday? Either way, very happy birthday to you, darling. Hello, everybody in chat. Squirrel, what have you been up to today?
Nothing today. I got so aggravated trying to fix the dryer yesterday that I was done. So I've just been lazy today. I stayed in bed until like, I don't know, it might have been maybe about 11. I don't know. It was late.
So today you didn't go ahead and wreak havoc and get on YouTube on somebody else's channel and just start bashing everybody in the ground?
Why would I do that?
Well, I don't know. Why would you do that? I don't know.
You're the main one, Spencer. Everybody already knows. Quit trying to make me out to be the bad guy. Everybody already knows.
At some point, I am so going to show everybody all the damn texts between you and I.
I don't know what you're talking about. Be sure to show them the ones with Greg in them too, because those are the really good ones.
Oh, look at it. Look, she's got to pull Greg into it. Wait, Greg's here. Hold on. Greg comes out now. Greg, did you hear her? She'd throw you right under the bus too.
Hey,
they would be a mental hospital. They would be a mental hospital actively seeking us right now if they read all the stuff that our messages.
And what's so funny is we both gang up on Spencer and burn his ass.
And even Mark Green, as nice as Mark Green is, and Mark Green is the nicest man in the world. Mark Green was like, holy cow, the guy ain't even here to defend himself. And y'all just kept on going. And everybody else,
we're not quitters. We're never been quitters.
And Pat and Janelle, or Leanne, was it Janelle or Leanne? No, I think it was Leanne.
It was Janelle. And
it was Janelle?
Yeah, they are on my side. And
yes, and pyromedic. Jerk faces of the highest order.
Hey, anyway. Leanne's so sweet. She feels sorry for you, but she's gonna catch you too. She's gonna catch you too.
I got Leanne fooled.
No, Leanne will get after him too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's priceless.
Do I look like I'm looming in the shadows, man?
Well, okay, y'all, listen, we got to get started because we've got some guests today that actually took the time to stop on their way home to talk to us. So,
all right. Well, I'm gonna fall out on my phone. I'm gonna come back on my computer, so y'all bring me back. But yeah, I can't wait to hear this story.
All right. So just so everybody knows. Now, Roger Williams was on just a little bit ago, and his son Peyton, I think I told everybody about it in that episode. Well, I didn't tell the story, but I said he's got a heck of a story. And it's a simple story, but it really makes you think, and it leads into other things that we want to kind of get into and start talking about and everything. So we've got a bunch of people that are going to be on here, and we're going to go through Peyton's story, Peyton Williams's story. And if they have to get off because they're on the way back from the Gatlinburg, Tennessee Bigfoot conference that just happened. In fact, Roger was speaker there. And, they're on their way back, so they can only hang out for a limited amount of time. They got to get going and everything. So we're going to bring them straight on and get going with the story. And here they be.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, how's it going?
You can see we got a bunch of people. Misty, can you do the mystical, magical thing and put Peyton and Roger like big screen so everybody can pay attention to them?
Oh, Lord.
Let me try.
I don't know if you want to do that or not.
I know. Well, if the screen didn't break whenever it's got my picture up here, it ain't going to break with y'all.
How's that?
So,
I'll try to keep it still. I don't have any way to hold the camera still, so
you're fine. We appreciate you guys doing this.
Yes. Hey, first of all, Roger, how was the conference?
It was my first, well, both of our first times doing anything like that. And I think you heard backstage, some of it was really boring, and some of it was okay. It was a nice experience. Of course, when it got close to time for me to get up on stage, I was scared to death. So um, we we made it happen. It's a fun experience, and we got to meet a lot of people, and just spend the day. And it was about me and him spending time together more than anything. Um, but we did learn some things about, it's a money maker, right?
Oh,
So
don't get me going, Roger. Don't get me going.
I bought shit I didn't even need.
Well, but did you get to meet anybody that was near you, that lived near you, that maybe you could hook up with later?
Well, we actually got invited to go hunting by Mr. Martin Groves. He said when he comes to Tennessee to do some investigations, and it's close to our area, he wanted to know if we wanted to go out with him. I was like, sure, let's, as long as it's not at night, I'm all for it. So I don't know about that, but it would be interesting to see how people do things and watch their process, right?
Go out with him. You'll be part of another book 3 or 4 or whatever.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, Donna West was there, and she said you did great at the conference. And I think Sherry was there, and she said you did good at the conference. So don't worry about all that. You must have done good.
Well, I thank y'all. I tell you what happened. The guy Brian, the podcast guy, they were trying to figure out what order. There was 3 of us, and none of us knew each other. And I said, can I go last? He said, what if we're short on time? I said, well, if I go first, you're definitely going to be short on time.
Right.
So
right.
He let me go last. I had 7 minutes, and just told my sighting, went over that. And, I didn't cut anything out. I just sped it up a little bit, and it was over with in a flash. And I don't know. It was fun. We got to hang out backstage with Cliff Barackman, and he's a genuinely nice guy, because he knew I was scared. And I came off the stage and stuff, and he was like, "Hey, you killed it." And RPG, he come up and give me a half hug or whatever, and I was stepping outside my comfort zone.
Yeah.
But I pulled it off. So I mean, I got my story out there, and
well, and like what you just said, you got your story out there. That's one of the reasons I wanted you on here to have an interview, is to get more people like you, who a lot of people, probably don't know about, to get it out there. Because, I go through and talk to these people and see who they are and everything. And I'm like, man, I wish more people knew your story, because so much in the Bigfoot world, if we're being honest, so much of it is, it's kind of garbage. It's probably embellished or over exaggerated or made up or whatnot. And, I really like the people that sound completely authentic and genuine and everything. But you got your boy with you, Peyton. How you doing, brother?
Good. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm fine, man.
He's showing you no respect today.
Well, he done spent a whole weekend around you and everybody else. He's like, yeah, I'll talk to anybody at this point. And just so everybody knows, again, let me clarify. They pulled over on the way home, and they are they're using Wi-Fi like a McDonald's or something, just to be able to do this. Because I was like, please, please, please let Peyton come on and do this story, please, because it's a freaking creepy story. It's a creepy story. Like, I don't get into the whole supernatural thing, but this is a freaky story. Anyway, it's not that long, but so Peyton, before you tell the story, let me ask you, growing up with your dad, and your dad had some Bigfoot experiences and everything, were you already like, were you skeptical of anything like Bigfoot, supernatural, were you, are you a realist kind of person, before the story? And you can describe the whole thing like you told me here a little while ago. You can describe it and describe how, like, you wouldn't have told no damn buddy about it. But I mean, did you have a background where you were already kind of open-minded to like Bigfoot, supernatural stuff, or were you, did you not care for any of it? Did you not believe in any of it? What?
Well, I was always kind of like, not really didn't believe it, but keep an open mind to it. And then if I, see one, obviously, then, it's more like show me to really believe it. But okay,
Right.
well, obviously something's up because so many people are, like you said, some of it can be embellished or fake or whatever. But then you see people telling stories and they break down and tell that, it messed with them emotionally and mentally. So obviously they seen something that, that was related to either paranormal, Bigfoot, whatever. And so I was more open-minded, but never had really had any experiences in it, but had heard a lot of other people and close people that, pretty honest, straight up people that wouldn't tell you nothing like that to what do they got to gain? They're not, they
Right.
didn't put out on, podcasts and stuff like that, trying to make or monetize it or whatever. You know what I mean? They're just like, they're telling you what they saw. They don't give a shit if you believe it or not. It is what it is. And they're not, what you go around a small town telling people stuff like that, and the only thing you're getting out of it is being called, you know what I mean? Like, it's not. So yeah, I would never really had any experiences, but I did not believe it. You know what I mean? I didn't.
Right.
So, yeah, I was open-minded, and like I said, all I'd heard, I didn't not believe them.
So
I didn't go looking for anything.
Yeah, I didn't go looking. I didn't want to.
Well, but again, nothing wrong with that. All I'm saying is when you climbed up in that tree stand to go deer hunting, you kept an ear open, and if there was something odd, you might have paid a little bit more attention to it. Yeah. But you were open-minded to it. You just didn't have any experience of your own to make you believe one way or the other. Is that right?
Yeah, that's pretty much, yeah.
All right. So, all right, go ahead and tell about it. Go ahead and tell about the whole.
We'll dive right in this. So it's summertime. I can't really remember if it was like midsummer or whatever, but it was summertime because, it was grass, weeds and stuff growing on the side of the road, and the leaves were green and everything. So we're driving down this road, man, and
hold on. We are driving down this road?
Me and my best friend, one of my best friends from high school. He was driving. I was in the passenger seat. And we weren't drinking, we weren't doing drugs, none of that stuff. We just literally had nothing to do at like 19 or 20 years old. Just riding around on like a Friday night or Saturday night. And
so it was at nighttime? How late? Yeah. Real late?
Probably around 10, 11:30. It wasn't, too awful late in the night or morning or early in the morning. But so there's a lake in our town it's called Old Lake, and there's a road that goes all the way around it just about. And we were on the side, and there's this like, it looks like a roller coaster type turn. It goes up and then makes a kind of a dangerous turn back to the right. And it's not even it's not banked or nothing. So if you go over it too quick, you'll go off the side of the road. And we knew that, so we're going through there slow anyway. And we go up it, and we're coming back down this curve, and our headlights are panning. It's just tree line beside the road. Well, when our headlights come and the road starts to get straight, there's a dog. It's like probably not a big dog. It's sitting down. The top of its ears might come about 3 or 4 inches above your knee, sitting on its butt, So, and he's alert. ears straight up, like you would picture like a Doberman or German Shepherd or something. Them real pointed ears. It's looking. It's so if we're driving straight, this thing is sitting in the road, looking to the right, almost directly right, and but it's looking straight to it. It's looking to our right. If that makes sense. Sure. So, our headlights are shining on it, and the first thing I noticed is it's like super extremely like short, slicked off fur, but it's not bald. It's weird. It was like a dark, smoky gray, black kind of, and so it's sitting there, and as soon as our headlights shine on the whole dog, it looks at us. First thing I noticed was there's no eye shine, and then I see that, so I'm looking to see like why this dog the eyes aren't shining. That's weird. So I'm looking at it, and then I noticed there are no eyes. Like you can see the skin in the eye sockets, and it's looking at us probably about 5 or 6 seconds, and we're getting closer, hitting the brakes because we think it's somebody's dog at this point. So I'm not freaked out yet. I just think it's somebody's unlucky dog that ain't got no eyeballs. You know what I mean? So he stands up, takes about 2.5 to 3 little trotting steps, and jumps into this high grass. And this high grass is probably about, I would say, like on an average person, about to like mid-stomach area. Just the weeds that grow on the side of the road, on back roads that nobody bush hogs.
Right.
When he jumps into the grass, his front legs, or his head and his front legs, are in the weeds. And about the time he got to where his behind his shoulder blades were, it just like turned to smoke, turned to dust, whatever you want to call it. And it looked like you set a dark gray, smoky gray, black smoke bomb off. But it didn't hang around and linger. It like dissipated. Like it was like gone as fast as it came, if that makes sense. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, no way, that had to be some kind of like, that couldn't have been it. That's not what's supposed to happen. And I look at my friend and he's kind of like, I could tell the look on his face. He just saw something too. I said, hey, what did you just see? What was that? What did you just see? He said the fucking dog turned to smoke. Turned to dust. Yeah, that's what I saw. Let's get out of here. That's yeah. So we're driving and we're like, what? We're freaking out. We're like, what could that? That was the weirdest shit we'd ever seen. That was like, it's not. It defies everything that's supposed to be real, and you see that, and you're like, so we didn't tell anybody. And I wouldn't tell the story unless he was there with my friend was there with me, because nobody's going to believe that. You tell somebody, hey, I just saw the dog jumped across the road and turned to smoke, and
a dog with no eyes.
A dog with no eyes. Yeah. No eyeballs. And like, that's, ooh, you could see the skin,
the back of the
in
eye
the
sockets.
Back of the eye sockets. Like it was like, it never had eyes, or like, I don't know. It was, and when it, I remember when it was sitting there and we're coming around, one ear, the ear closest to us, turned to us, and that's when he turned his head. And we got a good look at it. We were 30 yards away from it, from the furthest, and only got closer. So it took about a second or two for it to stand up, and then the whole thing probably lasted about 20 or 30 seconds. I mean, it was,
well,
and like I said, I didn't tell the story to anybody I think I told you like a month or two after it happened.
Yeah, he was over at the house and he said, Daddy, I got to tell you something. You ain't gonna believe it. I'm like, hey, I've told you stuff. Just you talk to him. What's going on? I wasn't expecting that. I thought maybe he had done something, or screwed up or whatever. But I'm like, I didn't know what to think, and I go through this process all the time. Every time I hear a story, if it's way out there, I'm like, that's BS, right? And then I get to thinking about some of the stuff that's happened to me, and I'm like, well, that's what people think, so probably think about me too. And you got to keep an open mind. And I know him,
I hope so.
But that's what I'm saying. If it's somebody off the street you don't know, and he can tell you right now, ever since he's been, on this earth, if he was lying to me, I knew it. I know his tales, right? I know. I always could tell, and then I would ask questions or whatever whenever little, and then finally he'd come clean about something small or whatever. So he was, I'm not going to say stressed while he was telling me, but I think he was worried about what I was going to think about it, and that made it even more believable, And he's never come to me and told me anything that I couldn't take to the bank, because we, me and him and my dad are really, really, really close. And Peyton's one of these guys that you hardly have any people in your life that you can tell something to and they won't run and tell it or whatever. And that's trustworthiness, And so, and then Grant, maybe I shouldn't have said his name.
Don't say his name.
But that kid right there is one of the most straight-laced, literal people. You know how you joke with people sometimes, and they can't get the joke because they're too smart. That's the type of guy he is.
No, I don't know that.
Yeah, no, that's Spencer, 100%.
So that's just my, when I was listening to the story, and I'm glad he came and told me. But he, the stuff I've experienced, I've gone and trying to figure out things. He said last night he doesn't want to know what it is. He's not going to go out there and you're talking about going and digging and stuff. He'd probably tell you. Go dig.
That's what I meant. Oh yeah, you can. I'll show you exactly where it's at, big dog. And you can dig it,
but you're not being involved with it, huh?
Oh, hell no. I mean, like I told you last night, it's like, people, it's like people who have Bigfoot experiences or Dogman, whatever the case may be. It's like they get obsessed with it, and I don't want to know what it was. Like, I'm not going out there looking for it. It happened. It's like, I wouldn't say it traumatized me, but it let me know, like, okay, well, maybe there are things that are not supposed to be, or are supposed to be out here that people don't comprehend or whatever. So when I hear a crazy story or what would be crazy, I'm like, well, I can't really say much because, I got
right
smoking dogs running around.
So let me ask you this. In your opinion, what do you think it was?
I've heard what we were talking about, the demon dog or hellhound. That is what immediately popped up in my head because I had read things about those, and that I didn't really know anything about Dogman or anything like that. And from what I've heard, they don't fit the description of a Dogman, but I definitely think that it was obviously it was more paranormal than anything because it was there and it wasn't.
Well, I will add this to the story. We read that a lot later, that sometimes some of these things can be a bad omen, death, whatever. And one of his favorite uncles on his mom's side died in his just a few weeks, 2 weeks later, or
probably a month or two.
About a month or two later, but unexpectedly. So, that would fit some of the, the legends or whatever that we read later.
The European and North American mythology of the black dog. The black dog is it's a common folklore thing. One of the main traits about it is that it is supposedly, most of the time, a bad omen. Like, to those that see it, to those that see the black dog, there's a reason that you see it, and then there's something, you know, devastating that happens in the near future. You know, but so is Mothman, though. But he didn't see Mothman. He saw a dog with no eyes that hopped and turned into mist or smoke. And I mean, that in and of itself is freaky enough for me. But I just want to know, I mean, if you both saw the same thing, both of you that were in the car, and we're on my show, so we're not trying to prove anything to anybody, but I mean, realistically, you got to chalk that up as something supernatural. You know, I mean, it turned into a damn puff of smoke. I don't know what else you would call that. I mean, that's genie type shit, you know? So the Dogman is the closest thing that I can find to it, or the black dog rather. But it runs really close to skinwalkers, which are kind of connected to like Wendigo or even Dogman. Now, it doesn't sound like the description of a Dogman, but like skinwalkers, though, it does come close to kind of sound like them. To me, it sounds closest to the black dog mythos. But
what about shapeshifter type stuff?
Well, I mean, that would fall under kind of the skinwalker thing. Yeah. And I will say, if you do any reading on skinwalkers, skinwalkers coming from a Native American tradition, there's a lot that's been written about them. And one of the things that is like a constant overtone in the stories is them waiting on the side of the road for somebody, and making themselves known to somebody in an open roadway. But, you know, like boogers to people that pay attention for like Bigfoot. Bigfoot often cross in like a sharp turn of a road or like at the bottom of a hill. In my mind, I think it's so that they have enough time to get out of the way so that they can hear people come and see people come and whatnot. But this thing just sat there and waited on it. Let me ask you a question, Peyton. Did y'all come to a complete stop?
No, it all happened while we're slowing down. But when it ran across the road and jumped into the grass and turned to smoke and all that, we were still rolling, but we were probably about 10 yards from it or so. So when it's almost like as we're coming up on it, it runs across the road, or it trots across the road and jumps in the grass and turns to smoke. Not as we're passing it, but just a few feet in front of the passenger side fender.
So you still had light shining.
So, but there was still light shining bright on it, and like you could like see it.
Could you see through the smoke? Or
was it was real cloudy.
Was the light reflecting off of it?
No,
or?
It was thick, like
a void. It was like a void, like a. You ever seen a cow at night? You pull around on the road and there's a black cow.
Yeah, it was like.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was. Couldn't find the smoke until it got. It started off dark, went lighter, and then gone. Like it was. Smoke didn't last long either. And I saw a question about how big it was. If I had to guess, I mean, maybe 30 to 40 pounds. It wasn't huge. It was, like I said, the top of the ears sitting down from what I could see looked like it would come to about 3 or 4 inches above my knees, maybe is what I guess is a better judgment because not everybody's the same height. And I'm 6 foot, so yeah, it wasn't a huge animal. It wasn't a tiny animal either. About average, medium size.
See, I'm wondering if it's not cursed land. I mean, if it's something to do with the Native Americans and it is, a spirit of a skinwalker, you definitely don't want to get out there digging around. Don't listen to Spencer.
Hold on.
This area.
Greg said if that was him, there'd have been some skinny pedal stomp.
There was.
You didn't help him, did you? You reach over and help him?
I wanted to. We was in a Durango. It was like a 2003 or 2006 Durango. It was a paved road, and this road's curvy anyway. And my friends, hanging inside of these curves in this Durango, it's leaning and everything. And I was like, I know we're gonna hit a tree head on coming out of one of these curves.
But afterwards,
yeah, afterwards, the skinny pedal stomping.
If you were in a Durango, which is SUV sized vehicle, so you were up higher a little bit, and when you first saw it, you said you were what, 30, 40 yards away from it, something like that?
Yeah.
Is there a chance that maybe it was a little bit bigger than what you thought?
Could have been because I don't bow hunt, but I do. I know that they say that you misjudge height and stuff when you're higher up than the object that the animal or whatever. So it could have been a little bigger, but that's just what, like, me looking at it from where I was sitting in the truck or the car, Durango, whatever.
And to what Misty said,
that I would have guessed.
This area or the area where we live, we used to find arrowheads all the time. I found a little small creek where this lady told me, but I found all the chips and the broken arrowheads and all this stuff. Where she said there was a place where they used to make them, and every time my uncle, they would turn the ground for tobacco fields. We would go out there, but especially if it rained pretty quick, and they'd shine like new money. We had 5-gallon buckets halfway and 3/4 filled up, and I don't know what happened. Yeah, and that was years ago. I don't know what happened.
Didn't you say in the show that we did with you, didn't you say that there were a couple smaller Indian mounds right there in your area?
There's one. I didn't know. We used to hunt this area, the same area that I talked about the arrowheads. And there's a mound or two on this other farm. And I thought maybe it's just where they pushed dozer piles or whatever. Yep. And I didn't know what an Indian mound was when I was growing up, but we rode the Natchez Trace years ago, and they had the historical markers and everything, and they're talking about burial mounds.
Wait, Roger, how close are you to the Natchez Trace?
It takes us. I can be there in about 45 minutes.
You know that the Natchez Trace is that's a hot spot for booger encounters.
Oh, I don't doubt it. I've rode that thing day, night. First off, you don't want to ride it at night because all the deer come out. They'll run out in front of you.
Right?
There's 2 of them, but the Natchez Trace. Well, I've driven it. I think it's about 2 years ago. Coming back from New Orleans, that's one of my bucket list things. We got on down there at Natchez, and I rode it all the way up. But that was a big mistake because it's during COVID and the bathrooms were closed. So I got to visit a lot of little towns. Yeah, and I'm just learning this about the tricks too.
Yeah,
but if you go back, you can look up Lydia Gray-Eye. She was born in the late 1700s. That's my great grandmother. So, and in my that's all. That's Cherokee also. Probably everybody around this area has some connection, but
sure.
I had talked to a few people about some of these strange things that's happened to me, and they said, well, it could be tied to your blood, heritage or whatever, ancestors. I don't know. It's just strange, and it's strange because I know people that's never had anything weird happen to them, and they'll be the first ones to laugh at you. And I don't know what the difference is. I don't know if it's closed-mindedness versus open-mindedness, or just some people are like magnets.
Most people that make fun of people, those sit on the couch all day and don't look at.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
It's like a Bigfoot. Because they were sitting in there. They were sitting inside. phone or computer or whatever. Like, so I don't know. Yeah.
Well, does anybody else want to ask Peyton or Roger some questions about, what they saw or how they interpreted it?
When it jumped into the grass, where did the grass come up to on it? Did you have time to even evaluate that?
About it was about half. Like, so when it jumped, it wasn't like a real high jump. It was just like a getaway jump. I don't know, but it like a dive more or less. And it was when it went into the grass, it was about halfway up how high the grass was, which wasn't much taller than it. It didn't really get that far off the ground.
Now, one thing that was interesting when I've listened to him tell it a couple of times. When they come around the curve, what he's talking about, it was looking towards the dam on the side of the road like it was alert, and it was focused on something with its ears alert and in that position, and then they interrupted something. I don't know what it was. That's kind of makes me wonder what was going on. The dam is the dam's only like 25, 30 miles. That's far.
So, did you get any smells or hear any odd sounds? Did it make any kind of vocalization?
We had the windows rolled up, music. So really, I know I didn't smell anything. I didn't hear anything. We really didn't stick around like that. But no, I didn't hear I didn't hear anything, and I didn't smell it.
Did you? I written. So it was close. Smoke was there. Did the vehicle go through?
It was already gone when we off to the side of the road, and we had already. When the smoke left is about the time we went through where the dog jumped.
Hey, bushcraft.
So when we went through it, we were probably going, when we passed where it jumped into the woods the grass, he was probably going like 15 miles an hour, 20. He had slowed down, and I looked over at him and I looked back and I'm like, what did you just see? What was that? He's like, the dog turned to smoke, and so I was like, yeah, that's pretty much what I got too. So we not hang up.
What did you see? The dog turned to smoke. Okay, me too. Let's get the hell out of
here. He told me.
Because when I saw it, when you seeing this in your process, I'm literally thinking like, I had to have like hit a times or something like what that can't have happened. But for him to see it and me see it, and like we both were talking about it on the way back, we're like, okay, it's crazy. I wouldn't have told the story if he hadn't seen it, because I wouldn't have believed it myself. Because It's like it goes against everything it's supposed to be, possible, but it happened.
Any other strange encounters? UFOs, ghosts, anything?
He had a lot. His family had a lot living back. It's almost on the same road. You just turn off make a right at the end of the road he lived on, and you saw it.
Now let me say where I had my Bigfoot sighting at. You went through the woods. You could go over one little ridge and a couple fields, and you would be at this kid's family. So, we've heard they've seen strange stuff, but they really won't tell it. Now he did tell one thing. I'll let him tell you that. And he was telling me, and I said, "You do realize that not far from my big," because he knows where the road is and everything, but I was young. He wasn't even thought of. So I'm realizing, hey, I never told him about places that we've been and stuff. So it kind of got me to passing down the history a little bit. Some of these. Go ahead. So I was just going to set it up and let you know it's the same area.
All right.
All right. Yeah, the 1010.
So he kept this thing he called the 1010. Because we had talked about, he had told me stuff with his family.
Hey, Peyton, y'all are breaking up a little bit, at least on my end. I don't know if everybody is hearing it. Could you start that over, please? You called it the what? The 1010?
The 1010. Because his grandparents, I can't remember exactly. It's been a long time since I've heard the story, but it was either his grandparents or his mom and dad. Every night at 10:10, this like light would come over the house, and it wasn't. He said it wasn't a flashing light. It wasn't an airplane. It was just every night at 10:10, this thing would come over the house. He didn't really have much detail about it because I can't remember if he saw it or not, but I know he was telling me about it. And
so he's seen some stuff.
Yeah, he's seen
or
some
his
stuff,
family.
and his family has seen some stuff. And there's some stuff that that he has told me that, like I said, I don't remember everything because it's been a few years since we've talked about this stuff. And I don't want to give the wrong.
I got one I want to remind him. You and your mom sitting in the house and the phone case.
So me and my mom were sitting in the house watching TV, and you can see the kitchen from her living room. And there was a phone case that somebody, like one of the ones you clip onto your pocket, and it goes on your you just put your phone in it like a holster. We were sitting there, and out of nowhere it gets thrown into the middle of the kitchen, and we both saw it. I was like, what the hell was that? And she was like, I don't know. Like that, she snapped up and looked at me and was like, kept looking at it and looking at me, and I'm like, what was that? And it was like, it literally looked like it was sitting there and you just smacked it off the counter in one motion. It was weird.
And their dogs in that house, they say all the time, they'll look up at the corner of the rooms and their eyes will follow things that nobody sees. So there's something
I got
on.
another one that this happened a few months ago. My sister had just had her baby, and I can't remember where they were. They weren't home. They might have still been at the hospital. And my mom and stepdad are sitting in the living room, and my mom, stepdad, and my girlfriend are sitting in the living room, and my girlfriend comes in the kitchen with me, and I'm pouring tea or something, and we hear a baby crying. There's no doubt, it was a baby crying. And I walked in the living room, and I looked at my mom and stepdad and said, "Is the baby here?" I thought they were still at the hospital or whatever. And she's like, "No, they're not here." And I was like, me and my girlfriend both heard it.
Did it sound like it come from the living room? Or
yes, it sounded like it come from Keely's bedroom.
Oh, from there. Okay.
And she was like, "They're not even here." So I was like, "Okay." We just heard a baby crying. Maybe it was something on TV. And it was the episode of Stanford and Son where they were in court about something. And I rewound it, and there's nowhere in it that there was a baby crying. I'm like, no, there was a baby crying. So then a few weeks later, it's me, my sister, her boyfriend or her husband, and my mom. And we're all in the living room, and it sounded like a baby crying outside, but the baby was in my brother-in-law's arms, and everybody heard that, and that was weird. And there's no mistaking it was a baby crying. It wasn't a cat meowing or a puppy. We don't even have any puppies, and it wasn't any kind of small animal. It was a baby crying, and it was right outside the front door.
That house is weird.
And we all looked at each other and like they were like, "What was that?" And me and my girlfriend were like, "That's what we heard last week or whatever, 2 weeks ago." That we tried to tell y'all.
Is it that house or is it the area? I mean, have you ever watched Skinwalker Ranch? Because if not, you might want to.
You know, I'm gonna tell you, I've had some experiences at different locations and different types.
And he reminded me of. Sorry to interrupt. I just thought of this off.
Go ahead.
So we were at. I was out hunting. It was the first year that I was hunting at the this place that we just got permission. Yeah,
the rock throwing place.
Yes, and it was. Was this before or after? Had that happened yet?
After the rock.
It was after this. After the rock throwing. So I'm walking probably about 100 yards from where the rock was thrown to us, and I hear it sounded like a young, like male voice that kind of has a softer voice or whatever, but it was definitely a male voice. It said, "This creek looks like a good spot," and I look up, and there's nobody supposed to be on this place. It's on 150 acres. There's there's no houses near it. Nobody would be able to sneak in on you without you hearing it because there's so many rocks and briars and stuff. Like I can't hardly walk in to be quiet from briars snagging on my clothes. There's so much of them. So I start, hey, who's there? You're not supposed to be here, and all this. And I never heard anything else, but I vividly heard, hey, this creek looks like a nice spot.
And he never heard anybody run or anywhere. And
never
looked around. Yeah. And nobody
went up to it. I went up to where and there's nothing. So what that was, I don't know. But
I can't believe he's telling you all this stuff.
Well, I mean,
this is just one more thing that goes into, there are a whole lot of people that have probably had weird ass experiences, but they don't talk about it. And I mean,
and see, I don't talk about it so much that I almost forget sometimes.
Yeah, well,
because I don't nobody's gonna believe the shit that I say. So I just kind of throw it in the back of my head, and if the conversation comes up, if someone else brings it up, then I'll be like, yeah, I saw or heard this.
Tell it all, Peyton.
We do believe it. That's what we're here for. That's what we do.
You can't tell me nothing about stuff like this that you've seen that I wouldn't believe until you prove me wrong. Because I'm telling you, I've seen some crazy stuff myself growing up.
And if you ask people with my job, I get to talk to a lot of older people. I take them to appointments and pick them up at nursing homes and stuff, carry them to the doctor or whatever. If they're open to talking, which a lot of them are because they don't see a lot of people, I'll talk to them for a little while, and then I'll ask them. If they lived out in the country or whatever, I say, hey, you ever hear anything strange? Or, and it liable to go to the woods they would talk about, or a lot of times it's the houses. And there's a lot of people that have had strange activity in their home, or maybe one they lived in. I had a guy one time, I was trying to do real estate for a little while. Didn't go over so well. And this guy was moving in, and he wanted me to guarantee the house wasn't haunted. I'm like, I don't. How do we do that?
How are you supposed to guarantee that?
But he was so traumatized by something that happened in Florida in a rental home that he was in his 60s and he was scared, and I'm like, I don't know how to do that, sir. I mean, I have no idea. Missed that one.
Stop touching the buttons.
You know what's really funny is right now the StreamYard logo is over top of your face, and when you talk, it looks like the duck is talking, so nobody can see you.
It does.
I was getting behind it earlier doing that. You wasn't even noticing.
You got to watch him duck squirrels.
Yeah,
I wish it was Squirrel Yard. That'd be fitting. Anyway,
But the thing is, with the stuff that's happened to us and people I know, I reached a point where I don't care. I'm fine with sharing because it helps people that may see this stuff and are they're scared to say anything. So just know a lot of us have had experience can't explain. Greg, I tell you what he did. He didn't. It scared him, and when they didn't answer back, that 686 we was talking about earlier, it came out. He said, "You better make yourself. You better show yourself." And nothing ever came up, but he wouldn't tell that part.
Well, Peyton, thank you for sharing everything that you did with us. I mean, we all appreciate it for a fact. And thinking about this show before we got into it, because, I mean, typically we do the whole Bigfoot thing, but I think a lot of people in the Bigfoot world are slowly but surely coming to the conclusion that there's something more than the flesh and blood. There's something more with the weirdness, the weirdness level that goes on. And maybe it's, maybe it's something as simple as Bigfoot are attracted to the same areas as a lot of this supernatural weird stuff. Don't know. Maybe Bigfoot is supernatural and weird.
Yeah, I mean,
listen, you're interrupting that was a serious conversation right there. I was going somewhere with that.
Nobody's listening.
Calm down.
You always want to interrupt when everybody else is talking. That ain't me that pops that crap up.
Well,
Spencer.
We've got this place we go to. It's my wife's family's land. I've talked about it a bunch. And my wife started going with me. She didn't not necessarily not believe this stuff, but we've had some things happen that could be associated with a large animal that we don't know about. But this one night we were there, and I told you about the orb we saw, and she spotted it first. And I didn't want to call it an orb because it wasn't shaped, it wasn't a perfect circle, but it changed slightly colors a little bit, changed sizes, and not, it wasn't like we saw it for 5 seconds. We're talking about 20 minutes. And I backed the truck up. We're only 15 yards away from it, to the woods, maybe almost 20. And then it was 10 foot up in a tree. And I backed the truck up and forward several times, just trying to get a better angle. And it never moved. It was right. It was there. So she was not flipping out about it, but it wasn't supposed to be there. So she's been exposed now. So I like, look, there's some weird stuff going on at this land. And me seeing it, yeah, it might freak me out a little bit, but I was glad that she got to experience it. So,
right.
But the main reason is, like, when I tell my stories, I know they sound outlandish sometimes, but we go back to that experience, and if it's a flash of something, you may misinterpret. But when you're looking at it for that long and you can't figure out what it is, and it just slowly faded out and went away. It didn't move. It didn't go anywhere. It just, and it's the spot it was in that whole time. It finally just faded, dim, and just disappeared. I'm glad she got to see it. I'm glad I got to see it. What it was, I have no idea.
Like I tell, people say, "Oh, well, that can't happen," or "What, that's not real," or whatever. One of my favorite examples is, imagine being the first person to discover a chameleon, and you're looking at this lizard, and he changes the same color as the tree or flower he's on or whatever. That's not supposed to happen, but he did it.
Imagine going back and telling everybody.
Imagine going back and telling everybody that for the first time. You know what I mean? So if that can happen, and all the other crazy things that the things we do know about can do, as far as lions and elephants and stuff reaching tones, and even killer whales reaching tones that we can't even feel or see or hear. I mean, that's so if there's so much that is possible, that almost anything is possible, really.
Well, here that's a good point. If we can't see it, we can't hear it, we can't touch it, it don't exist to us, right? If you get some of your five senses, so if something can be in a different light where we can't physically see, if it's not there, but it may be there. We just don't know it until it shows itself. So, I don't know. Y'all getting me. I'm trying to get deep here, and I'm not that smart.
Join the club.
No one else does.
I know what I'm talking about, but no one else does. That's funny.
Well, we're gonna kind of lean into the whole Skinwalker, Wendigo, Dogman thing, because this is a good point to touch off from, or the supernatural thing. And y'all, if at any point, if you got to bounce because you lose internet or you got to get going on down the road, just say so, interrupt, say goodbye or whatever. But Squirrel sent a bunch of pictures for, I don't know if it will let us do.
It won't. I'll go out. Hold on.
You would take me out?
No.
I can. It's
Well,
fine.
We'll get out of here because we're still 3 hours away from home. So,
Okay.
I'll be watching on my phone though. So
Yeah.
we'll
Thank
see.
you guys so much. Seriously. And
Greg, got to smoke a dog on it.
Yeah, those are high silver content. I wasn't kidding a while ago when I said those go with me in the woods. Yeah, I don't know if that'll work, but I ain't gonna take no chance.
He's pulling something out of his billfold. I don't know what the hell he's got. He said, "Hold on." Oh, he's got his silver cross here.
Like,
He's gonna use a slingshot. He's gonna put that in a slingshot.
I might shove it down one's throat or something. I don't know.
put it in my mouth and spit it at it as any other only option.
Y'all quit.
I'd swallow it myself and be like, "Eat me now, eat me now."
That might not be a half bad idea.
Assholes. We need to start taking colloidal silver every day.
Turn blue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you very much for stopping and doing the part on the video, Peyton. Thank you for sharing everything. We do appreciate it.
Anytime, it's nice. We needed a break, and this, and even though we're laughing at people watching in the audience and everything, we take this stuff serious, but you can't let it overtake you. You gotta have a sense of humor. So,
you guys have a safe trip back.
Oh, thank y'all. We're going back roads. So usually, like, it's supposed to take us 4 hours to get to Gatlinburg. It took us 9 Friday.
Holy cow!
We went to Tail Dragon, and we're all over the place. Just having fun, guys trip. I don't like the interstate.
Yeah, a lot prettier country, ain't it, on the back roads?
Yep. I will see y'all later.
All right. Thanks, y'all.
Yes.
Bye. All right. Well, that was very nice of them to stop and pull over and just sit in a damn McDonald's parking lot long enough to tell us the story on the way back. I'd
been eating chicken nuggets the whole time.
Hey, before we do the talking about Dogman, we're gonna segue. Wait till the end of this. We're gonna talk about the upcoming Dogman show. We'll do a Dogman show. Everybody wants to talk about Dogman. Everybody wants to talk about Dogman, but it's the same thing as like boogers. It's one thing to sit on YouTube and want to click on videos and get a little scare while you're sitting in your living room and everything. It's a whole different thing when you actually go out there in the woods and you get near these damn things. Just simply saying, the reality factor is very strong whenever you go to certain places and stuff starts happening. And it makes you, with the Dogman, at least for me, it's not something I want to see or not something I want to think about. I'm well aware that everybody's like, "Oh, Spencer, you got to think about them and talk about them and everything." Yes, and we will. But I've come to the conclusion after being with several people, and right now I'm looking for the video clip thing. I think that's it. I don't know. I've come to the conclusion that Dogman is most likely real. And so Misty found a bunch of pictures of like old stuff dealing with Dogman and skinwalkers and Wendigos and all that kind of stuff, and it all kind of seems to tie in together. I mean, some of the details of the myths are almost interchangeable. Kane, I saw you sitting there taking notes. Were you taking notes about the show, or were you making notes about what you were getting ready to say, or what?
I was taking notes on his on his story, just stuff that caught my ear right away. Just listening to it and try to mark some points that piqued my ears. You know, when he, and I hope they're still listening. One is what he saw. A lot of people have seen. One thing, you know, I caught on right away. He said the ear turned towards them, so it was at least momentarily aware of them as much as they're aware of it. And another thing that came to mind is that the human eyes can't register the full color spectrum that's out there. And I just learned this not too long ago. But a lot of times when the human eye recognizes something but it can't register the color spectrum, it will put it as gray or black. And I thought that was interesting. And then, you know, the Indian Mound significance, I mean, that's something that throughout history, I mean, the ancients knew the reason they put mounds in certain areas was because there were special places, and the ancients knew how to detect that. And I believe it's where the veil was thinner. So everything, when I'm listening to their story, I'm thinking portals. You know, I really am. And even, you know, I even dialed up a picture from one of my trail cams that I shared last year of something that kind of doesn't look like it's totally materialized. It has ears, and you know, I have throughout the years had several pictures that are kind of unexplainable, because there's obviously an image in the picture that kind of looks smoky. It kind of doesn't look fully materialized. And to me, I believe that's exactly what he saw. And then he's just hitting the points of hearing people talking, girls giggling, all that stuff happens in these areas. I know that I have a mound that is at the end of my road. It's in walking distance. And the last property I had a mound that was within walking distance, and weird stuff happens in these areas. And I think it all kind of ties in together.
So do you think, I mean, I know you said that obviously you think it's areas where the veil is a little bit thinner. Do you think all of these things are attracted to specific geographic locations, or are all of these things we're talking about, including like Dogman and Boogers, are they partially supernatural themselves? You know, are they attracted to it, or are they emanated from it because it's that area?
I think in these areas it's easier to see them. Whether they're attracted or not, I don't know that. But I do think there's something a lot bigger picture. And I believe that's, as humans in certain areas, it's easier for us to register these things, easier for us to see these things. And at this point in my research, I still don't know, but I would be 100% if it's completely paranormal, that would make sense to me. You know, that would make sense to me. I mean, kind of the evidence, I don't know. I don't know where I'm at with it, except I don't know how I would explain it, except it's real, and and flesh and blood in some degree, and then at other times it doesn't. It's not, and maybe it's a mixture of both.
So
you know what I mean?
Is it kind of like 1 foot in both worlds?
Maybe it's kind of what a lot of Indian lore says too. I mean, I'm always going back to, because I believe it all ties in. There's a bigger picture of throughout history, and we have amnesia. Our history is not what we've been taught is not all factual. There's a lot that's been left out. I think just now we're in this age, we're starting to rediscover who we are, what we are, and what our true history is. And it's a lot longer and many years than, every couple of years they have to go back another 10,000 years because of new evidence. And I mean, I've read enough and studied enough. I know the ancients knew special areas, and these special areas. However, the story, because of Ohio, the Serpent Mound, the lore is that we know for a fact that there was a meteor strike that hit however long ago, but the ancients saw millions of birds flying in a circle over this area, and they're like, it had to be phenomenal to see. But what it was the meteor impact threw off birds their navigation system.
Yeah. So
they just flew in circles, and there's millions of them, and that became a special place. But when you start following, like the Friends of the Serpent Mound's an excellent site. All this crazy stuff that they have that happens in that area, where it really seems like the veil is thinner. There's doppelgangers, there's portals, there's ghost activity, there's booger activity. And we start following that, and then you start locating around the area. It's kind of goes hand in hand, I would think.
Greg, Sherry, Squirrel.
Well, Kane, do you think that maybe that meteor? Okay, let's say the meteor's made up of a lot. A lot of your meteors are a lot of metals, different irons, and maybe gold, silver, whatever's in this meteor. What if that meteor impact, if that thing buries up, busts apart, explodes, whatever, if it showers down all these different metals? Think how that maybe, this is me. I've got the big giant straw I'm grasping at. What if that's interrupting the magnetic stuff, the energy, the electricity, or whatever you would call it for that area? What if that's changing something there just by those minerals and metals being different to that one spot?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's those areas. I think it's just easier for us to detect, for one, and that's why there's, they've always been special areas, and he's not far from the Natchez Trace, which is a huge. I mean, it's a historic highway for anyone that doesn't know, and littered with Indian mounds. And I think it was Kumba who once said, and it always stuck with me. He said, the Native American sites were places of high resources and probably a great place to live. And then as the ancients moved out of those areas, the boogers moved in because of, these places where they settled were high value, resource areas. And then you just got on top of that. I mean, it goes so deep. The rabbit hole, it just gets deeper and deeper. I saw someone talk about way lines and stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all that stuff ties in, and I think it all ties in too. And I just see, what he saw. I believe he saw what he saw, And just like the image I showed you, I think if I was standing there rather than a camera taking a picture of it, I think I would have seen the same thing, or anybody would. And you can only describe, as an honest person, what, it looked like a dog that vanished. And I just start tying into the other knowledge that I have as far as color spectrums and stuff, that our brain like shuts off, and we can recognize something as black or gray because we don't have another color spectrum to analyze it and interpret it. So our brain just says black or gray. And it could be something like that. And like Spencer mentioned, Skinwalker Ranch. I mean, all that stuff. It's all the same type of activity in these areas.
Yeah.
I'm going to try something next time we go out. I discovered I could do this. It's kind of, I don't know what it is, whatever it's called. Actually, this is kind of funny and embarrassing, but I'd be in the bathroom and we had this wallpaper, and I found out, not crossing your eyes, but it's like I could, I don't know how to explain it. I could pull my eyes almost to where they're crossing, and I could see different depth levels.
I cross my eyes and see different stuff all the time when I'm in the bathroom.
100%, Sherry. Yeah, 100%. Because I did a video on this and I did not share it yet, but there is a way of kind of like tuning into the moment and turning your brain off. And sometimes what I have to do is I'll be outside, and I don't necessarily say it's meditating, but it's kind of, I'll sit out there and I'll focus in on like maybe the crickets, and I tune into the crickets. And as I train my ears to do this, or whatever sound you have out there, if you do it long enough, you kind of just get in the moment and you'll hear more.
Yeah.
You'll hear stuff far away, and I don't know what it's doing to your ears, but it's like activating them. And I was just doing this like 2 weeks ago, and I've done it several times. And I'm like, I have to talk about this because that's a way, like, at least for me, and like not so much crossing my eyes, but sometimes I will stare at something and then I'll focus in on the sound, and it's like a shortcut for your brain, and you will hear another spectrum that you don't normally, because we're always thinking, even when we're out in the woods and we're walking around, we're thinking about dinner. We're thinking, our list of things we have to do. And to get into that moment and just be there is so hard for us in this day and age, to just be. And sometimes I think that's what meditation does, is you just let the world go and just let it all in. And I know it works. It definitely is something that will allow you to hear things. And sometimes you'll hear things that is hard to explain. I've heard chanting. I've heard, long distance stuff, but just kind of focusing in on that. And what you do with it from there is what you do with it. But I agree 100%.
It's not, and I know what you're talking about, because when I would do it, it's like I was seeing like through a kaleidoscope kind of thing, and it's like your ears. I don't know. It's not like it's just such a focus that it's unreal. And I'm going to try it the next time we go out, because I've been thinking about it, and I'll just get out in the middle, and sit down someplace where it's quiet and see what happens.
It does make you wonder, though, how much of this stuff we're overlooking because we are just in our own mind and not really paying attention. I mean, it's like how many people out there that go hunting, they've never had any kind of Bigfoot encounter, but maybe they've heard tree knocks or branch breaks or the smells, or, stepped right over a track while they were walking into their stand. And just because it's not on their radar, their mind goes, that tree knock is like, oh, that's somebody hitting a hammer to nail, a mile away, and I just hear it clearer or whatnot. But a lot of this stuff really could come down to just how much you pay attention and actually look for it and everything.
Well, that's why I walk off by myself a lot of times. Sherry always gets on to me.
That's because nobody wants you around.
No, I'm telling you, I've done the same thing at Kumbo's because I have to get by myself. I want to be alone and just focus without hearing, everybody talking. You got to just get away from everybody. I mean, you're getting energy off from people too being there. So when you walk off by yourself, you're able to focus more on what you're trying to focus on. And
I want to bring up something. I'm not trying to contradict anything what y'all are talking about, but
go ahead, contradict her.
Well, now this goes back on this is going to play in a lot of what Sherry's talking about not really focusing, but kind of like getting a broad spectrum. I read an article several years ago, and it was talking about, it was in a hunt magazine, and it was talking about the Native Americans, and the natives had trained themselves that when they were in the woods, basically as humans, we're from birth, we kind of focus. Our eyes want to focus. Our concentration goes to one thing that catches our attention. Just like me looking at this camera, I'm focused on this. Everything else, your brain blocks it out because you're focused. And it was talking about the Native Americans kind of had learned or developed a kind of hack or a trick to when they were hunting in the woods to be able to pick up on everything around them. You actually, you make your vision like, I don't know if it's conscious or self-conscious, but you make it like blur out, and you're trying to look at the whole picture at one time. And guys, I read that and it was intriguing, and I started trying it. And I would get in the woods. It's just like what Sherry, you'll realize you'll feel like you're not really going blind, but you're not focused on anything. It's like you're trying to use your peripheral vision. Like if you sit here and instead of me focusing, you're using your peripheral and you're trying to look at the whole big picture instead of focusing here. It's crazy what you'll pick up on. It's like all your senses change. It's weird. But if you'll try that for a while and really, really try it, you'll be amazed at what you can see. You can pick up on sounds. You can pick up on little things that normally your mind is just blocking it out, and it's wild.
Hey, Greg, it's like when you're using one eye on the scope of your gun, and then you train yourself to use both eyes and focus into that. And our genetically, we pick up on our peripherals. When I was waiting for you to say that because I knew you was getting there. Your peripherals has more detail than what you see straightforward. It's probably an instinct, but I agree 100% with what you're saying.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say. It's like most people live their life in tunnel vision. I mean, they don't know how to get out of that.
Well, in today's world, though, we are taught to, you wake up and you go to work and you work 8-10 hours a day, and you've got all that other stuff you've got to do when you get home. We are taught to focus our attention and everything. And this is going back to a much more natural kind of state and mentality. And it's got to be relearned in order to do this kind of stuff. It doesn't come natural to us anymore because of the environment we're brought up in now.
It's just like, I hate to say Indians, but the Native Americans, when they joined the army, at first they cut their hair.
Yeah.
And then they learned that when they had their hair long, that the hair gave them like an extra sense, and they let them grow their hair out because
it's like antennas.
Yep. Yeah. It was counterintuitive what they wanted them for. And it was just that extra century that, we have in our DNA, but we don't use anymore.
Who knows what all we've lost? I mean, since this show primarily deals with Bigfoot, I mean, can you imagine the massive difference between us going out in the woods? And I mean, yeah, that a lot of people in North America go hunting for 3 months out of the year. And we got high powered rifles and, bows that shoot 400 feet per second and everything. But you're talking about a critter that, realistically, I mean, it's always in the wild. There's no telling the difference between like its senses and ours. And all of these people are like, oh, there's no way Bigfoot could exist. We'd have caught it by now. The few times I've had stuff happen, the last thing I was thinking about was taking a picture, or much less trying to shoot one or whatever, because I'm always armed. But I mean, we've gotten so far away from the way things operate in the natural world. I've got baby deer coming up to the house every day and just watching them whenever they come up, and like we feed them and everything, just watching how they respond and how they move. And, they're the things that are important to them, like safety and shelter and food and all that stuff. That's what they concentrate on. And me, I'm like, hey, you got to get out of here. We got to feed you and you got to go, because I got to go get my daughter's dance shoes and go to the grocery store and all that kind of stuff. We just have a whole completely different view of the world compared to what everybody did have a couple 100 years ago.
Yeah. Spencer, go ahead.
Okay. No, I just say we're out of touch.
Well, no. Yeah, exactly. But like what Spencer's talking about watching the deer. Guys, I love hunting. That's my thing. I love hunting. And a lot of hunters, you'll hear hunters griping and complaining about squirrels, and not just Spencer griping about our squirrel here. They'll gripe about squirrels. Man, I didn't see anything. Squirrels were aggravating. They were all around me, on the tree right by me. Guys, when I'm in the woods, I love to have a couple of squirrels like on the tree 3 feet from me, because here's the deal. Yep. I'm watching the woods, but I'm watching those little squirrels, because you know what? They're going to pick up and they're going to see something way before I do. And I'll watch their reaction. And when I see that little squirrel's head look around, and just like what that boy was talking about, whatever he saw, its ears focus. When I see that little squirrel look that way and I see his little ears go up, my eyes are cutting right where he's looking, because he's going to find out what's there long before I can.
Did you know that blue jays will warn all kinds of other birds whenever there is a predator in the area, right?
Yeah.
So all the like hawks or anything like that. So all the noises that you hear from them, that's them talking. You think that the squirrels don't know what's going on, and then also, whenever the squirrels chirp and bark and get up there and they get mad at you and start making all the barking noises, you think the deer don't know what the squirrels are saying? It's an ecosystem that we're not tapped into anymore, that Bigfoot is, and probably all these other things are. And I mean, really at this point, it's like we're trespassing on their territory, on their terrain. When we enter it, what did you say, Kane, that one time we were at a campfire and you were telling me something about a chair being out of place in your backyard?
Yeah. I call it concentric circles. It goes further than that, because what the squirrels and the birds are picking up on is the insects. The insects are like the first warning. When something comes into the area, the insects, if you just listen to crickets out here, you'll listen and they'll get quiet. And that alerts everything. And everything will call you out if you're not supposed to be there.
Right.
And it's just a huge, they're looking out for each other in a way. They recognize, like, okay, the crickets, what's going on? They just got quiet. The frogs, everything. But what I'm saying is, if you know your area of research it should be like your backyard. If I look at my backyard and someone takes a chair and moves a chair out of my backyard, I'm going to recognize it. That's the same thing of how these things exist. They exist right under your nose. I was out. I got up this morning. I went foraging. I decided I was going to go, like today, I can go to the grocery store, or I'm going to go out and I'm going to forage and get my meal for tonight. That was my goal. So I was out there 4 or 5 hours this morning, and I did 22 videos this morning. And part of that was talking about this, exactly what we're talking about. And it's you're never going to see what you need to see unless you're just out there every day. And I had a video that I might post. It's finding this truth has a price. It's had a price for me.
Yeah.
Because you have to dedicate so much time, and a lot of it's alone, a lot of it, relationships, things to find that truth, to where you see, like, that area that well, that you go out there and I just did, I swear, 6 videos of stuff where okay, this stick's propped up on this, and going through this whole scenario. And a lot of that's for me. It's not even I did 22 videos, about 5 of them go into my files, and then maybe one of them I might post. But the dedication it takes is pretty much, you have to live in the woods to see it, because that's what's happening. It's like there's communication going on that we don't see it unless you're out there enough to be able to recognize it. And that's the whole lawn chair. A long story short, if you see a lawn chair and your backyard is moved, then you recognize that. Well, the same thing's happening out in the woods, where you notice things that are changing. I just documented 2 structures out in the woods today that are no longer there, and new things are up. And the only way I know that is because I've documented it like 6 months ago. I can go back to that video and be like, okay, this wasn't there, this wasn't there, these were here, and now those are gone, and there's a new information, I guess, is the best way that's out there. And that was for me, not so much because I know it goes well beyond what most people can grasp, unless you can take them out there and show them, like, the next day or the night, hey, you were out in my woods, that's 750 acres back here, the night before, and I take you out the next morning, there's all this stuff, then you'd be like, oh, wow, okay, I see what you're saying. Most people can't grasp that. They don't grasp that.
But you're not going to notice those things unless you are there a lot.
Yeah. And that's the sacrifice, and that's the price you pay. That's the price you pay. You're not single for 23 years.
Right.
Unless you dedicate yourself to something, and it's kind of a price you pay to do that. And for what? For most people to just shake their head and be like,
right.
I do it because someone out there is listening. Someone out there will take the torch, and someone out there will go far beyond. I wish I could have started this when I was 20, not in my late 30s.
Okay, brother, you're on a level where you're like, hey, tonight I decided I would go forage for my food, and I made 20 videos today, and 5 of them, nobody's ever going to see, because there's the secret information in it and everything. And people on Facebook are literally arguing about, like, oh, that is a picture of a Bigfoot, or that isn't. The picture doesn't tell you a thing. The picture doesn't tell you crap. The videos don't even really give you a lot of information. What Kane is talking about,
AI.
Yeah.
AI,
well,
bad.
have you seen some of the stuff nowadays? Because there's just not going to be any way to tell. But my point is, we're dealing we're dealing with stuff on such a different level than the average person that is a Bigfoot enthusiast. We're trying very hard to narrow down these subjects and like focus on certain areas and everything. Kane is a prime example. Him and Eric are the number ones, in my opinion, as far as like gathering the data and breaking the data down and everything. And by the way, because we didn't say it earlier, but if you're not following House of Enoch, go back, watch all the videos from the beginning, which at this point, I don't even know how many videos he has. Kane, how many videos do you have out there?
About 470, 470.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
but it's not that. I'm nobody, man. I have no ego.
Shut up. Yes,
I do. I mean,
he has no ego, and he won't brag on himself, but I will brag on him and Eric for both of them. Go back and watch all their stuff from the get-go. That if you get into the kind of nitty-gritty detail that he's talking about, he's got a bunch of videos. But you got to start at the beginning, and you got to go step by step. It's a incremental kind of thing.
A lot of stuff. Yeah, I look at it like this, and I hate to say this, but I'm going to. A lot of stuff I put out there, I've already documented. I can prove. If I'm talking about some structures and stuff, I have not just a little bit, but a lot. And there's personalities out there. All summer, all they're doing is going to conferences.
Yeah.
And they are the go-to personalities in the field, and they're not out in the woods. So the concepts that we're talking about right now is stuff that you have to be in the woods. It has to be your own personal truth. You're not going to see it. When I'm talking about tree structures, I already know. I already know I can prove a lot of this stuff. I still get, and I love them, man. I don't, people will question like that, whatever, it's natural or whatever, but it's so much more than that. It's so much more, and it can be proven. I just did a video today. And I did the whole video, and then now I don't know if I'll share it or not, but I show it's a layout. And what it is, I'm looking at the structure and I'm saying, okay, if this is right, which I already knew it was because I've done it for about 4 years, I'm going to go up on this somewhere up here and I'm going to find 2X structures because that's what this is telling me. And that is like it's information like, okay, you see the 2X structures that where you are on the map. You know what I mean? So even though the map isn't how humans look at the map, so I do that. I film this, then I go, and then I start filming some nice impressions, and then I look up, and there it is. There's the 2X structures, and this has been going on like. That's when I say some of this for myself. It's like that personal documenting. Like this is real. This is how I can tell you it's real. It's because this information doesn't change. Like if you see this certain structure and you can kind of, and I'm not saying I can interpret it all, but I know that, and I know that when I go there, that's a waypoint on the map. It's right here. That's these 2X structures. And then I can kind of go back to that interpretation and know where I'm at in that interpretation, if that makes sense. But it's not laid out like we are, like we view it. It's not so much X marks the spot or this or that. You have to just drop everything you think about how humans view something, and you go down this rabbit hole. And that's where this rabbit hole takes years, and then it takes like, no one's going to believe you. No one's going to believe you that you can actually, what you're doing, except you document it and just keep repeating it. And that's what I'm hoping I'm doing. you know, is like eventually I'll be able to like say, here you go. Here you go. Now, I think it would take going out and showing somebody that scenario so they can see it for themselves in an area that we don't have no control over. I don't even know where I'm going with that, but that is the truth out there, and that's up for interpretation. What's doing it? All I know is it's there, and that works.
But there are a very, very, very few people, but they are out there that have corroborated some of the same stuff that you have found. Number two, Eric is going to fuss at you for even sharing as much as you have now. Number three, everybody wants to see your secret files and understand what all the stick structures mean. And that's like high on our list. So, man, I hope you have all this shit locked up in a vault somewhere. And it's like if anything happens to you, this stuff gets spread out to everybody, or at least people like me. And I'm not too proud to say that. Well, hey, kiss my butt, because I've been trying to learn from him for years. And also, you and Eric, let me tell you something. Have y'all gone to Alabama and looked? Because just knowing the little bit that like a lot of us have picked up from y'all too, when we went to Alabama on Greg's property, where his old hunting spot used to be, you go down one side of the road and it's on both sides, but there's one or two on one side, but there's a lot on the one side. As far as structure goes, it's like crazy. I've never seen a place where you go down into the middle of nowhere going down to that. Is it a lake, Greg, or a river down there where that campsite was?
It's a river feeding into a big lake. Yeah.
But down in there, y'all need to carry your tail to Alabama. I'm telling you, this is so stupid. Kumbo went out and said hello, did a call. He said, hold on, everybody. Reckon I let them know that we're here. And literally just walked over. I mean, like, didn't give anybody a chance or anything. Just walked over, did a call, thing answered right back immediately from like not even 100 yards away. It wasn't even trying to be loud. I mean, it's like he said hi and it said hi back. And the whole rest of the night, I was like, what the fuck? You could have let us know you were going to do that so I could film it or whatever. These things are so prevalent down there. You and Eric would have a field day down there. Oh, you need to go see the structure. I'll
tell you this, man, and this is kudos. When I was just starting out, nobody gave me the time of day. And I went out to all the big name. No one gave me the time of day, and I was doing the work, man. And Bear and Kumbo did. Both of those guys. When you say,
thank you, Cashew.
When you say it, what it was, the common ground was a shredded truth. When those guys were talking back in the early days, I could tell from what they were saying, they were real. Like, their experiences were real, because there is a bunch of bullshit and then there is the truth. And these guys are spitting truth, both of them. And it does not surprise me at all that Bear or Kumbo could come out and get a response down south, because that's what they do. And their calls are unlike no others, because they heard it as they were growing up as kids. And that's real. It's just like up here. Those calls, those calls up here are not what I hear, but they are Southern calls, that work down there.
But your calls and Eric calls worked in Daniel Boone. So there has to be some kind of commonality. There has to be like a base language. It's variations of a base language, but the base language is the base language.
Yeah. It's probably like American language is not a good reference, because American language is kind of a bastard version of everything.
Yep.
It doesn't describe a lot. Like you can go into Latin, the same word in Latin has so much more meaning. It's like when people read the Bible in Latin, they can describe in Latin. There's so much more descriptive elements that American language just doesn't have. And it's kind of the same thing. Like I'm agreeing with you. There is like a base, because some of the things that I think are markers, like territorial markers, there is a standard to them. There's a standard to those markers, but they vary. They vary as you go across the country. They're different, and they should be. They should not be the same, because if it's imprinting, the variations are different, and that's exactly what I've seen. And I think it's the same thing with the calls. Like I could tell you right here, if you're sitting out here at my cabin, there is a call. There's usually a total of 4 responses, and they're 10 minutes apart, and they're all different. So that's the one thing I try to tell people, like, listen to your area. Doesn't matter where you're at, but what is happening in your area, because if you hear a tree knock here, the response is not a tree knock. You are telling everything in the area that you are not who you're supposed to be. And if you're doing it immediately, when you hear that tree knock, you dead giveaway. You're an imposter.
They're not talking back to you.
No, they are talking back to each other, and they each have a different response. That is my truth that I know here. And it's just from sitting out and listening. For years, I thought it was the same one. I thought I was listening to one moving across the area. And it took me a moment of being out in the woods, actually, when some four-wheelers came down the road. And the way sounds echo and stuff here, it actually sounded like these four-wheelers were coming down the driveway. And they weren't, but they were going down the road. But as soon as that sound there was an alert. And I was sitting already out in the woods. And I think maybe I was shielded from that noise. And I listened to all the responses repeatedly every 10 minutes. And that's the light bulb moment. Like, oh, okay. And that's exactly the MO for my area, is everything has its own response. So I think a lot of people mess up when they're responding back with what they hear. Yep. If they just listen long enough and maybe do some long audio over a couple of weeks or something, they might be able to pick up on that. And I don't know. I don't know what other areas do. I only know what happens here. But it does seem like Bear and Kumbo, the old outlaws, knew the proper responses. When they would hear a certain call, they would respond a certain way. They didn't just do a whoop. They responded, and that's to this day what they kind of hold secret and close to them, is the proper response for what they hear.
Yeah,
and that's why it's effective.
It's not necessarily doing the call, it's the answer. And a lot of times it's like I see people go out and do knocks or calls, and I'm like, maybe you should just listen first, because like around here, I'll tell you that in southwestern Virginia, not West Virginia, southwestern Virginia, people, West Virginia is like fighting words, but anyway, if you do like an owl call, a lot of times you'll get a whistle and then like a knock later on, or vice versa. If you do a knock, which I never do, but I've seen other people do it around here, you'll get a whistle and then like an owl call or a whoop or whatever. It like hardly ever comes back as you do a knock and they do a knock. That's hardly ever the case in my area. Now, at like LBL, there's Mark and Larry. I mean, I don't know where they got it from, but like the calls they do, they get a reply vocal, but it's normally one or two, and then that's it. There's probably more stuff, but we don't know what to listen for. It just takes spending time in that area. But anyway,
a lot of time listening, I think, in that area, because I if we call them clans, it's each clan has their own system worked out. It's that simple.
It just makes sense. If you're in hiding, you don't want to be found, you're not going to make a lot of noise. That's common sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and these things are hiding from everything. They're hiding from us. They're hiding from their prey. I mean, if they let their prey know that they're there, the prey leaves. I mean, how many times do you hear people talk about, the boogers showed up and there were no deer or bear or hogs or anything like that? Because even the prey leave. I mean, you're dealing with the apex predator. It keeps everything close to itself, in my opinion.
Well, that's my number one problem. We used to watch Finding Bigfoot, and they'd have the people out there, and they were always, it was good information, but it was good information.
I'm sorry, you know what I meant.
Animals. They would go find a place and be like, there'd be a watering hole out in the middle of the field. They're like, oh, this is a great place. Animals are going to gravitate towards this, and they're going to do this. It's like, in my mind, when I'm listening, I was like, you are looking in the exact wrong spot that you would ever look for a booger in, because they don't expose themselves.
Right.
I personally believe they don't drink out of stagnant ass pond water. I moved into my property, and within 3 months I knew 2 springs, and now I know of about 5. If I'm going to drink water on my property, there's 750 acres back here, I'm drinking out of a spring. I'm not drinking out of the damn pond water. And those springs are sheltered areas. Those are areas that's way back in the woods. No one's around. That's where, if I'm in hiding, I'm getting my water from something like that. I am not getting my water from a nasty old pond. And that's my problem with some of these shows, is they're using good science as far as looking for deer and other animals that don't care. I think they need to step it up and realize that, put it like, would you drink out of that stagnant ass water that everything's been pooping and peeing in, or would you find a different resource that's a little cleaner? And if you humanize it just a touch, you might get a little closer to the mark.
Hold on. That wasn't it. Leave those spiders alone. What are you even talking about, Judy Willing? Hold on. Let me say something here. Like grasshopper. I live in a big city and don't have the means to be out there every day in the same place. That's a lot of people.
Yep.
No, that's a lot of people. I will tell you this. Here's some inside baseball. Find people that are in your area that know this subject and are not full of crap. Find somebody that talks like Kane does, or Greg does, or Mark Newbill does, Larry Porch does, whatever. Find somebody like that. Learn how to interpret maps and territory and know what you're looking for. And yeah, you're not going to be able to solve the mystery of Bigfoot like maybe somebody like Kane or Eric can. You're probably not. If you don't live there, you're not going to be able to focus on it every day. I get that. We all get that. I started there too. Find the people that are living with this stuff, that know what's going on. Talk to them. Go to those areas, and at the very least, you will most likely get some experiences of your own, enough to push you into going there more and more often and getting more experiences. Because I promise you, The first time you go out there and start looking for like structure and you find one, you're like, oh my gosh, that's what everybody was talking about. Or the first time you go out there and you're sitting out late at night and you got your cell phone on record, which you should have a recorder, but whatever, and you hear a Bigfoot howl, you're going to go, holy cow, that sounded really unusual. That might be a booger. The first time you find a track, you're, oh my gosh, that's a track. I'm pretty sure that's a track. The point being, don't let that deter you. The fact that you live somewhere where they're not, spend all their time there, if you want to get into it. But I will tell you this, the subject becomes obsessive. And like what Roger was saying earlier, man, at some point, you got to be like, I got a family and I got stuff I got to take care of. And I mean, look at Kane. Kane's a damn little hermit that lives out in the middle of nowhere now and just spends all his time foraging for his own food and trying to understand the mysteries of Bigfoot. You can't go off, Kane.
Yeah, I don't want that.
Yeah.
If this is the grasshopper I know, he knows a lot more than what he's leading on.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe.
Yeah, the grasshopper I know is pretty smart in this subject.
Well, yeah. He just said. I've already seen Squatch 3 times. As the sightings were random place. Well, I wasn't trying to. I was just answering based off of what you.
I know, but I know a grasshopper. Is this the grasshopper I know? Can you text? We've talked. I know grasshopper. He knows a lot more than he's giving on.
Oh, look, Cashew. Thank you, Cashew.
That's
Everybody
the
should be able
thing
to.
about this group you were telling them to find. So you have to find the right people to do this with.
You really do. You have to have a base to start somewhere with people that you trust. And not only people that you trust, but people that actually, know a little bit. Nobody's an expert, but you got to find some of the people that know a little bit about something and connect with them. I mean,
And give them a chance to get to know you before you expect them to share everything too, because they're not going to trust you right away.
hell no.
What?
What?
What'd she say? What'd you say?
I said they don't trust Spencer. Nobody likes him after
I know. I've known Kane and Eric for a long time, and they talk to Misty, and they tell her secret stuff that they don't tell me, and I'm like, what the hell?
I don't
To make you mad.
his face.
What the hell?
When I first met him at the LBL, that first one, when it was like winter, I'm sitting here writing down all this stuff they're telling me. I'm like, I can't believe y'all are giving me all this information right off the bat, because they didn't know me from Adam, Eve, whoever. Yeah. And they gave me a lot of good information to start with. But and we've shared it with our group, but it's been, I've just never seen even in other fields, people don't open up and but if they bring you in, they like you.
Well, you guys are bear hunters. You guys are bear, like, you instant had respect, because, and you guys were kind of off to yourselves, doing your own thing, and that's like totally got that. Like,
don't you even start, Leanne. I saw your comments on Mark Green's show.
And the other thing is I guess that was a different grasshopper. I saw that, but I don't know. It's you find your tribe, you find people you want to talk to, and share experiences with. And sorry, I'm comments right now.
Spencer,
everybody beats on Spencer. But you find common ground. I find it's so weird that you find people and you start talking to them, and it's like, well, have you had paranormal experiences? Yes. And I don't know what there is to this, but are you a musician? Yes. There's so much common ground of stuff you find that is it's strange. It's like how you find each other. Even me and Spencer have a passion for like knives and primitive living, and you find these common grounds with people. And this is just another aspect of it, Spencer's like a knife maker. I have so much respect for that. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the stuff that he does, and then he's kind of like a jujitsu, or I don't know what is a taekwondo or something. But we can sit and talk for hours about that. I mean, it's outside of any of this. It's like just common ground.
I've got Spencer muted.
Misty, I can't wait till you tell him that Kane has gave you a secret Dakota ring and taught you the handshake.
I told Spencer, I said, man, Kane's like PB&J.
Unmute him.
He kept trying to cut Kane off. Nobody wants to hear him. So there you go. You were muted. Go ahead.
Hey, that's true. Who brought this channel to everybody so that Kane could talk to everybody? Shut your mouth. Yeah. Shut your mouth.
Well,
You're going to have to take her.
Thank you, Kane, by the way.
which even that is bullshit, because Kane could go on any channel at any point that he wanted to and talk to everybody.
Well, I talk too much. Sorry, I apologize, Greg. I know I'm just, and I know.
No, man, I'm hanging on every word.
All right, well, I have a lot of respect for you too, man, and everybody has their own truths and knowledge to this, and it's just getting together.
Yeah, one thing I want to just kind of throw in, guys, and I think Kane's going to really back me up on this, is the people that are out here that kind of like the comment from Grasshopper, that they're in town and they don't have the access that we have. And people get disheartened. People that's been in this for a while, because they want the sighting. Everybody wants the sighting. That's what everybody's after, is the actual, their own, very own. There he is. I see him. I want that sighting. Guys, look, all the things that I've had over and over, I've only seen them 3 times that I've actually physically go, there he is, 3 times. I'm living right in the middle of these things. Misty and Spencer and T, where I'm at, look, I'm in the middle of them. These things don't want to be seen. They don't want you knowing hardly anything about them. You've got to hang in there, keep on, just research, and like Spencer said, and Kane, everybody's gonna back you up. Get with somebody that's in the know, feed off each other, learn from each other. And like what we're doing right here, guys, and y'all are not seeing even the people that are diehard people that they're on these or watching these shows. Y'all are not seeing the live chats or seeing the messages that we're, the little tight group is amongst each other. We're bouncing those ideas.
Or you would know that Misty is the asshole. But anyway.
Well, I mean, I have to help her pretty regular. But anyway. We learn a lot from each other. That's where magic happens.
Yeah.
Because things that I never think of, Kane's gonna think of. What he's not gonna think of, Misty's gonna come with. Share. We're sharing that and being able to open up with other like-minded people.
But make sure people that you can trust, y'all. I mean, so just randomly start a conversation and start sharing all your secrets with somebody that you don't know, because that's the wrong thing to do. I just tell you.
You got to be a decent person. You got to be a good person, and you got to get with good people. And if you do, you'll be able to understand it and feel each other out and know that they're good people. And then they'll talk to you, you talk to them and everything. But if you get with the wrong people, if you get with somebody that's just trying to be famous, they're going to fill your head full of crap. You're going to go out there and nothing's going to happen.
They're going to take everything that you have and steal it.
Yep. Well, And not just that, they're going to lead you in the wrong direction and point you down the wrong roads. And it takes time to get to the people that actually know this stuff. They're going to weigh and measure you before they actually open up and start to talk to you about this kind of stuff. That was my experience, because I came in as like a serious greenhorn. I didn't know jack shit about Bigfoot. I didn't know anything about Bigfoot, and I spent my whole life growing up like camping, fishing, hunting, teaching wilderness survival to other people. I didn't know anything about Bigfoot, and I saw a couple things that made me think about it, and then I started talking to some people, and I was picky who I talked to, and I was lucky I got in with the right people. Shut up, Diane. What are you doing?
Well, Spencer, I can. You ask questions from the right place, and that's why we recognize when you first started asking us, and we're nobody, man. I mean, we are nobody.
Not to tell you that.
But you were asking questions from the right place, and anybody could pick up from that.
Yeah.
And you were thinking about stuff, and we would, we would start talking, and you come back with questions that were of a person that has actually thought about what you said and came back and asked a real question. You just don't want to blurt out the answer. You ask the right questions, and it's everybody, just like Greg was saying, everybody here is has a little bit to offer, to the whole scenario.
And if you ask Eric the questions, even if they are the right questions, Eric's going to look at you and be like, "You're stupid. Why did you ask me that? You did not spend enough time thinking about this." I'm like, "Tell me what to do." He's like, "No, go back and think about it." No.
Eric is, I'm fortunate. I mean, to have him as someone, I mean, I would go out any day with that guy because I know he has my back. He's had my back, not just in Bigfoot. He's had my back in real life.
Yeah.
When my world has tumbled, he's like, "Yeah, I'll find some people. I'll help you move to wherever you're going." He's a real dude, and he asks the hard questions, but that's what you need. You see the people out there that don't have someone asking the hard questions.
Yeah.
And most of the stuff that I post that I know might be controversial, I will throw it to him first, get his opinion, because I know that will be the harshest critic.
Yes.
And that's what will keep you in line. And the whole thing, like House of Enoch, never saying the word Bigfoot, that's from Eric. He's like, unless you see a damn Bigfoot doing it, you better not say it. I'm like,
that.
You know what I mean? But he's right.
That's gold.
He's right. And you need someone that will call your bullshit.
Yes.
And that's what he does. And he, in his own right, is a great researcher. And he's a solid guy. And he's a solid guy. He's a guy that will show up here at 2 a.m. if I'm like, "Hey, dude, there's some stuff going on. It's Thursday. Sorry, it sucks. I know we got to work in the morning." He will be here. That's the kind of guy he is. And that's fortunate for me to have that kind of person. Even though he might ruffle your feathers or whatever, he's real. He's real.
He's a dick. No, I'm just kidding. He is. He really is a damn nice guy. I'm sorry. I got Spencer muted again. Let me unmute him.
What the fuck? I made a valid point right there, and I was muted.
Say it again.
Eric is one of the most solid people that you will ever meet. He will burn you to the core, but he ain't saying nothing but the truth, and he'll make you think about like what you just said. Like whenever he calls you a dumbass, it's coming from a different level. When Misty calls me a dumbass, I don't listen to her. But when Eric calls me a dumbass, I don't really listen to him either. But I know he means well whenever he does
From
it.
my heart.
And
He's
Misty's
the
just
guy
an act.
that if you really went back, because I know he knows, he's tangled with some people, on the internet. But if you go back, he's usually protecting somebody.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. He is not scared to put himself out there and stand up for somebody and just call their bullshit. And he's done that through the years, and some people hate him for that, but he's a true guy.
100%. Eric is as real gets as far as people go. I mean, he is a very straight up kind of guy. He really is. And Eric does shows, just so y'all know, if you're friends with him on Facebook, he does a lot of, not shows, but what do you call them? Like live videos or whatnot, like almost every morning and everything.
He does a little kind of coffee on the way to work thing where he just talks about life and
everything,
research. And
he talks about Bigfoot a lot, but he talks about everything else too. And he is just a very down to earth person. And Eric and Kane, they're kind of like a team. And I come up in the Bigfoot world, like listening to them and being under them and everything. But man, just find people that are real. That's the bottom line. And let me say that we're going to go into more of the supernatural aspect, which really, in all honesty, it kind of makes me uncomfortable. But we're going to go into more of the supernatural aspect of Bigfoot on this show. And we're going to end up doing something on Dogman here in a few weeks. I got a couple guests lined up for the next couple weeks, so it'll be after that. But the Dogman thing, I'm telling you though, I'm going to make it as real can be on the Dogman thing, because I think a lot of people are fascinated with the subject, because I mean, really, it's like it's an American werewolf, and it's crazy. If monsters could exist and people look over Bigfoot and they go, oh, Dogman, that's like a whole different level of monster. I'm going to show you some stuff that I've found on Dogman, and I can't go into all of the people that tell me about stuff, and some of the people that I trust, because they don't want it put out there. But we're gonna do a Dogman show, and probably a couple of them. But careful what you wish for, because I think Dogman is real at this point, and I didn't used to. And some of the stuff that's out there about it, it's not the whole thing like, oh, it didn't kill you, so therefore it's probably not evil. How do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know how many people got snatched by Bigfoot? How do you know how many people got snatched by Dogman? And I'm one of the people that still argues that I don't really believe most of the Bigfoot missing David Paulides stuff. I still don't believe that most of that is Bigfoot, but I'm starting to think there's a lot more to it than what I used to think. And I'm starting to think that the Dogman thing, there might be a lot of stuff with the Dogman thing, and whatever. We're going to do a show on it. Careful what you wish for, though.
About it.
I'm there with you. I'm not a big Dogman proponent, but, and I've been shared a lot of information that is not mine to share. I see it. I'm hesitant. I'm about Bigfoot, Sasquatch. I hate the term Bigfoot, by the way. I hate the term booger. I like Sasquatch.
I like booger.
Susquehanna. But
I'm working on it.
yeah. I've got stuff on my phone that would blow your freaking mind.
Yes, he does.
I've got video surveillance. I've got a lot of stuff. It's just not mine to share. You know what I mean? It's like I want to promote it, but your reputation is the only thing that you have. And I hate to, like, it's mind blowing. Now, I trust the person that's giving it to me, but since I didn't do it, it's hard for me to promote it because, God, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, I know. Everybody is constrained by saying, okay, I won't share this with somebody. And whenever you see something in person, it's like, okay, I'm not going to give away any details, but man, I really want to talk about this. There's stuff I've seen people open their phones at like campsites and be like, look at this, look at this, look at this. And it's like, man, you know, I'd love.
You're allowed to do it. You know, it's like I'll share with anybody at a campsite anything that I have on my phone because I've been guaranteed. You know, I've been told that I'm allowed to put it on my website. That does have some potential to get a lot of views. I don't just for that reason, even though I really don't have a reason not to. It's just if I don't see it for myself, I can't back it. But man, I've seen some stuff on Dogman that, as a guy that's not a big proponent of it, I've seen it. And I'm like, yeah. And I've done the Google searches. I've done Google image searches.
Yes.
Never seen it ever come up. And I don't know.
I've seen stuff on other people's phones where I come home and I'm like, man, I'm going to find that has got to be a movie. That has got to be like something on TV. And I've come home and spent weeks and weeks searching for like something that looked like that. And just, you don't find it. And between the source of where it came from and everything, I'm telling you. What is he talking about? Napoleon syndrome. Mike, what are you talking about? What does that even mean? Anyway. All right, people. We have been on here over 2 hours. We will do a future show on Dogman, but I got to get some stuff lined up. We need some things that are like real to show people and everything. And might not be able to pull it off, just being honest. Might not be able to get some of the real stuff that I've seen or stuff that would make you think and all that kind of stuff. Thank you so much for everybody that was in the chat tonight. That was really, wow, that was a lot of people. And I guess we're getting upwards of 60, 70 people at one point watching everything. And that's impressive. I can understand why you would want to listen to Misty, but my dumbass. Anyway, Kane, thank you very much for doing it. Sherry, weighing in. Greg, what was funny about that?
No, I said they're not here for you. I was just joking. They're here for our guests. They ain't here for me either. But
wait, we're gonna have like a 1 year anniversary thing where I'm gonna show you all of her texts to me, and you're gonna be like, Misty is a fucking ass. She is.
No.
I'm sorry, I'm reading the other.
Well, I love all you guys. I really do. I love the people that follow.
Hey, Kane.
Nothing but love. Greg, Spencer, Misty, Sherry. Love you guys.
Kane.
I love you too.
Kane.
Back at you, brother.
Do you want to come back on at some point, Kane, and weigh in on the Dogman thing? Because, man, that's some. The reality of it is freaky.
I don't know the angle that I would take. Honestly, I'll go on with you guys whenever you need me to. It's I like to speak on things that I know a lot about. So if you just want to like throw it against the wall, I could do that. Sasquatch, paranormal, giants, ancient history, that's my thing. Indian mounds, it all ties in. I mean, I think it does. I don't know. I mean, I could talk to my friend and see if he wants to chime in. That's the guy that you really want to talk to about that.
Yes.
And he would.
Kane, bring him on and just have him sit like in a corner of the room where nobody can hear him or nobody can see him, and we'll alter his voice and everything and just let him talk. Yeah,
he has more experience than that for sure. I mean, they call him Dogman Richard in Hocking County for a reason.
So he's in your area. He is in your area, Kane.
Yeah, as the crow flies, he's only about 15 minutes from here. Okay. He's coming out of his shell. He's a military, a dealer of death. If that's what you want. He's lived under the radar for about 30 years because of his profession. That's kind of like what you're looking for, like a hermit out in the woods that has a lot to offer, but couldn't because of his job profession. He's got a $500,000 contract on his head because of what he did for the United States. And now he's just starting to get out of that to where maybe it's not such a big thing. He's older. Yep. He has a wealth of knowledge. He's got a lot of stuff like we compare maps. That's the cool thing is I do maps, topo maps. I have maps of my whole 4 counties around me, and he has the other counties that I haven't researched. And when you put them together, it's like it's like holy hell. And where they cross over, they line up.
Hey, Vic, cool. How are you?
So I don't. Yeah, he'd probably come on and talk about, because I'm not an expert on Dogman, but if I was going to talk about Dogman, that's who I would have.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. Yeah, and nobody that had more reports to him than probably Vic.
I think some of you probably saw his pictures.
Vic Cundiff, if you want to come on and talk about Dogman, we're going to do that. So, yeah. We ain't going to carry a torch to what you do as far as Dogman goes, but we're going to delve into it somewhat.
Yeah.
Anyway, hey, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Roger and Peyton, man, thank y'all so much for pulling over and getting the show kicked off. I still say the creepy ass story with the dog that had no eyes and turned into smoke, that's one of the weirdest, freakiest things I've ever heard. And eventually, y'all, hold on, wait, I gotta find out where the thing is. There we go. If anybody has anything they want to talk about, or if you want to keep it private or whatever, reach out at the email. Awesome, Vic. That would be super cool, man. We'll get the resident Dogman expert to weigh in on some stuff.
There's the guy right there, Vic.
I'm telling you, yeah. That's somebody. Now, we never mentioned him because I assume everybody knows about Dogman encounters. But if you don't know about Dogman encounters, go check out Vic's channel, Dogman Encounters on YouTube.
Bigfoot encounters too.
Yeah, well, he's got the He's got another Bigfoot channel. What is it? It's what's his other Bigfoot channel? I can't think of the name of it. Vic, if you're on there, can you please put it up? Because I listen to that every week too.
I do too.
My Bigfoot encounter or my Bigfoot story, something like that. It's like Dixie Cryptids. Whatever, Pyro. It's like Dixie Cryptid. I assume everybody knows about that. Just like I assume everybody that is watching this channel knows about Mark and Larry with Beast TV and all that kind of My Bigfoot Sighting. That's what it is. Thank you very much, Vic. Yeah, that's a great show. There is no host. It's just people recording their Bigfoot encounters so you can hear it first person without interruption, you know, so without people like me running my mouth during the whole time and everything. Good night. But anyway, yep, good night, y'all. And, you know, hit us up with the email if you want to talk about anything. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Thank you, especially Roger and Peyton, for kicking everything off with that creepy-ass story, and I hope I never see anything like that.
Thank you guys so much. Thanks, Kane, Greg, Sherry. Love you guys.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
See y'all.